Hey, there we go.
All right, go for it.
Well, I'm really appreciative that you've invited us here and selected us as one of your 4 finalists. So in case you don't know about My Sister's House, we've been part of the Sacramento and the Central Valley for 11 years now. And we are the Central Valley's only domestic violence shelter, which focuses on Asian Pacific Islander women and children. And we've submitted to you a project called Project Thrive, and the Thrive standing for Transitional Housing Resources for Immigrant Victims of Exploitation and Abuse. So let me just take a deep breath and answer the question that people often ask us, which is like, do we only serve Asian victims or Asian Pacific Islander victims? And the answer is no. We serve domestic violence survivors of all ethnicity, but what makes us a little bit different from Weave or from Citrus Heights Domestic Violence Shelter is that we do have that culturally specific focus. And the other factor that makes us different is that we also have a focus on getting domestic violence survivors back on their feet financially. And I think that part of that connects to culturally that it's really important for kind of that Asian work ethic, so to speak, that really is a critical part of our philanthropy, and so important that we incorporate that in our program. So why is this transitional housing project needed in our community? And what's the data for it? That was submitted in your proposal question. And let me just share this with both of you, I apologize. Some information about My Sister's House, probably more than you ever want to know. And one of the items is our strategic plan there, and referenced in the strategic plan is a recognition that our primary shelter, our safe haven, has been full, has been at capacity almost since its beginning. And so we needed to do something about that, and how do we address the housing issue, that housing need. Not reflected in the information, except for in the newsletter that you have there in our annual report, is the fact that last year we had a 160% increase in the number of crisis line phone calls that we had. And of course, obviously, a lot of those crisis line phone calls are about asking for shelter, asking. Additionally, just the fact that the economy being what it is, we all know what tremendous pressure it's put on our families. In our communities, the greater Sacramento community, and that pressure has not been lost. We've seen that as a shelter responding to emergency needs. So, just in a nutshell, My Sister's House operates in 4 major program areas, and what I believe is it addresses the continuum of needs for domestic violence survivors. So first, we do outreach and education to help prevent domestic violence, to help prevent sexual assault, to help prevent human trafficking. The second core area is we have a 24/7 helpline. So we've done the outreach and education, and people need to have some place to call, and that's our 24/7 multilingual helpline. So people can call, or they can call for their friends asking for help, and we have more than a dozen languages, largely representing Asian cultures, granted to provide assistance. Some of those people that call need shelter, and that's our third core area. So it's the safe haven, the emergency shelter that we have, and now very excited to share our transitional house. And lastly, we have our Women to Work program. So whether or not people stay in our domestic violence shelter, in our safe haven, our emergency safe haven, or in our transitional house, or if they're staying in another shelter, they can still access the broad services that we provide, with a focus on trying to get them jobs, to get them back on their feet financially. The reason why the transitional house was started was because we just knew that our shelter was always full, and then it was like, well, what? And we also had a special issue for our clients, because oftentimes they would be brought over expecting to be, to have that American dream and to be supported by someone and not to be abused by them. And so if they would leave, then it would be like, okay, well, what do we do then? What we do then is a lot different than from someone who has citizenship or someone who's grown up in this country, because they would have no resources and they would have no language capacity or limited language capacity. And additionally, their papers would be filed with the government, so to say, and it would take a year, many months at the very minimum for it to be processed. So where did women stay after the emergency shelter? And so we're excited to start right now the first domestic violence shelter transitional housing program in Sacramento County. So we've been operating that for almost 2 months now. And interesting enough, it actually started with an idea that we submitted a few years ago to this very same program. And we got rejected, so we're hoping second time's a charm, to start this house. And, oh, there's Daryl. Daryl made it to the back way.
Please come in.
Thank you.
And so we got rejected when we submitted the proposal, but Chris Pahui was on the committee at the time, and he said, sorry we can't support you guys this time, but he said we could probably make something work with Sacramento Housing Redevelopment Agency to help get it started. And so it took us several years to get the housing. In fact, all the paperwork's not done. We're just waiting for the feds to clear that they can dispense the house to my sister's house. And then we will be, we've already done the kind of the pre-paperwork, in terms of being cleared financially through SHRA. So we just get to sign the legal documents once the HUD approves, SHRA giving it to us. So it's a new house. It's a beautiful house. It's newly rehabbed. But what isn't done is the backyard is totally undone. And the garage is totally undone. And we thought that this would be a great project for you all, in that there's enough space for a storage unit, which we would love and would help us save some money, not putting our stuff in another storage unit offsite. It would give us better, being able to have some shelving in the garage would help us in terms of better managing our supplies and our resources. And then obviously the landscaping is important in terms of creating a homey-like environment. Additionally, the other part of this proposal to you is to help us start our capital campaign. And this in part came from another supporter of my sister's house, and said, you know what, we just need to start this campaign. We just need to start it, and you need to ask for, 2 sponsors a year, $4,500 each sponsoring team, and 10 years, and you're covered, because that's how much we're buying the house for, if we do the math, right? So we thought this would be an awesome way of making a difference for your group, to help us to get additional sponsors from the community by you jumping to the table, so to speak, and starting that leadership for us. And it would be a great way of showing, I think, support also, bringing not only the housing community, but the domestic violence community, and also the Asian Pacific Islander community, in terms of some attention to your good works. So.
Apologize for my late arrival. I just pulled into town.
No problem. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
So that's basically our project in a nutshell, our Project Thrive, which we hope that you will join us in starting it off in a great way. And the timing is perfect also for my sister's house, and because next year will be the 10th year anniversary that my sister's house will have been operating its shelter. We've already celebrated our 10th anniversary organizationally a few years ago, but this will be the 10th year of operating the shelter. And so it'll be a nice way of commemorating it.
Matt, can you ask questions?
Absolutely. Go for it.
curious, so just to clarify, then, you would be seeking the gift of $10,000, if that's what it is, whatever the amount is this year that would be given. That would go towards rehabilitation of the garage and the landscaping? Or were you thinking some of those funds would then be applied to this annual gift that you're seeking of, with what I think I heard was $4,500
Yeah,
a
so we
year?
were thinking like, just 4,500 for the first year, that was it. And if you wish to do more years, that's okay too. But, and then 3,000 to do the backyard stuff and the garage stuff. And then we figured 2,500 of materials and supplies.
I see, okay.
So,
All right.
And the endowment, or the capital campaign, is that to actually buy the house that's going to be the traditional house, or is that from a different facility, right? I missed that part.
It's for the transitional house.
And where's that house located?
Can't tell
Okay.
you, but it is in. It is in
South County,
Sacramento
Placer County?
It is in Sacramento
Okay.
County. But I will tell you that as we're the only domestic violence shelter with our culturally specific focus, we have had clients come from other counties.
You could probably say, is it a large backyard or a small backyard?
It probably all depends upon how big your backyard is.
Half an acre?
Is it a tract farm? Is it like a
It's
subdivision?
kind of a
Yeah,
tract.
it's in a subdivision, but it's in an older subdivision, so the subdivision has larger,
So a
larger lots.
decent sized lot?
Yeah,
Okay, that's all we're looking for, some
Probably a
sense of.
third and a half sometimes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Are you seeking
I'd say-
For,
I'd say the whole piece of property was quarter acre or something,
Oh,
so it's pretty good size.
That helps,
Yeah, okay.
understand
Okay, good.
magnitude of the landscape.
yeah.
The front yard has been beautifully done, but the backyard needs a lot of work.
And so with regards to the garage, will any of the habitants drive, or is the garage completely for storage?
It's possible that some of the residents will drive, but it's probable that they won't initially.
So is the garage mainly intended for storage, and you're seeking to have some rehabilitation for storage units?
And we'd like at least the size to be
Uh-huh.
for some of the storage part, and we'll keep open the option of the cars if needed.
And will that be for people who reside there, for storage for them, or storage for your organization?
It'll more likely be storage for the organization, of which some of that will be for supplies for the house.
Okay.
Did you mention another storage unit in the backyard as well?
Yeah.
That you mentioned something specifically about closing up a storage unit that was currently off-site?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
it's a
landscaping in the
big-
backyard and then putting in an additional storage unit,
I mean-
shed type thing in the backyard?
There's
Okay.
enough for a play area. We would never put a pool, but there'd be enough, if we wanted to. There's enough space there. So
It's
we'd love to
actually-
see like a garden area or something.
That's one of my other questions. So is it families, women and children that would live here, or just women?
Women, and we have a rule that we only take cute children, so only cute children.
That's pretty much is all of it.
Well behaved.
Yeah, well, we guess,
I like that rule.
yeah.
It's a rule that I need to enforce in the house. Well-behaved, cute children.
One of the things I've always wondered too is, especially you had mentioned the transitional housing as being one of the first of its kind here. How does that differ from like the Cerna cottages?
First of its kind for domestic violence.
For domestic violence, okay, not just
Survivors.
for underserved.
Yeah, and actually there used to be some transitional housing units for domestic violence survivors, but they have since closed that.
Okay. And do you partner with other nonprofit agencies such as Weave or Food Bank or anybody else?
We do cross referrals to each other all the time.
So just referrals, there isn't necessarily services that are provided?
No, sometimes we do services also. It just kind of depends upon what the client's needs and interests are. So any client works both ways. Oftentimes, because we're the smaller shelter, we'll have clients that will be staying in another shelter, and they will receive services from us, as opposed to the other way around. But it can be the other way around, and we've always taken organizationally a position that these our women are in crisis. Whatever services they need, they already get, until they're in a better position to be able to help others. So,
Is the organization, have you submitted an operating plan for the house, for the home? Are you in a stable position to take on the home and fund it from year to year operations?
yeah, one of the reasons,
So go ahead.
one of the reasons that we chose that was we also, beyond besides the need for this particular center, was also, it didn't hurt that we also felt that it would utilize less resources from the organization. And so we have not had to submit an operation plan anywhere. We obviously had to submit our financials to SHRA, and so they have looked at that.
They felt comfortable that you're able to take on operationally the home?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I think one thing that's important too, notwithstanding how small our nonprofit is and how lean we operate our nonprofit, we do have about 6-7 months of surplus cash on hand. So that's pretty amazing for in this day and age that we can operate like that. But we use that's already that's sitting there in the event that the grants and the donations do dry up, and who knows what's around the corner. So we try to run as efficiently as we can.
And you mentioned you're purchasing the home, and you mentioned that $4,500 a year is what it would take to purchase the home over a 10-year period? Two of those, so $9,000 a year for 10 years. Okay.
Do that.
All right, got it.
And in a low interest rate.
Well, actually, I negotiated the deal with SHRA, so it is a 10-year. They carry the entire the amount of $90,000, zero interest,
Beautiful,
And zero down.
beautiful.
zero down, zero interest.
So I thought you were kind of going.
We'll have to say hi to Chris next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's my neighbor.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
So beyond the physical work of the landscaping in the garage and beyond the financial, are there other items from a professional standpoint as far as in-kind service that you guys have considered as part of this?
In terms of the transitional house.
Yeah. Because I guess it would be, what's the proposal, and the proposal for the transitional housing?
Yeah, so the answer I think would be no. We thought about it, like what else could we ask for? And that's the biggest need. We have some interior stuff that Optimus, where the Sierra Nevada region are helping us with.
Any more questions?
No, this is good.
Yeah, we can stop the camera then, maybe. Yeah, I don't want to take all your time. I'm just saying, we'll